All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, October 23rd. We weren't able to do our Friday um, catch up with Joe Farrell from Strive for 25. We were both kind of busy, so we're going to catch up on Monday here. So, welcome back, Joe.
Appreciate it, Mark. Good to be back.
Yeah, so heard you had a good weekend. You caught some football.
Yeah. I felt like a normal person for a change. Yeah. A friend of mine's 40th birthday went to an outdoor venue with turf and the kids were running around and saw a couple football games. And so it was good. And it was like 75 degrees. It was like perfect day for an October fall, weather day. So it was great.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get out of your routine, and then it's good to do it though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the,
Yeah.
the kids go to the mother-in-law's house. So we're able to go out a little bit in the evening. So that was good. Um, But yeah, there's a lot going on right now in these markets, and anyway, different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. No, back to the Monday grind now, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So what kind I think I want to talk about, and I seen it, I see it quite a bit on social media, and it's a topic that always comes up, and I've gone down this path, so I kind of have my opinions on it. But a lot of people always ask, or I think when they're getting started, they trying to figure out if they should purchase properties in an LLC or use an LLC. And do you have any experience with that?
yeah. I mean, me personally, I feel like things have changed over time, right? Like getting an LLC set up or two wasn't that big of a deal 10 years ago. Um, But now, like, okay, one rule of thumb from some people is, hey, put every single property into a different LLC, and then they have their own protection, and then this and that, and then you have as you scale up, maybe you have 5, 10 different properties, and you have all these different LLCs. That's great and all, but like when it comes to taxes, I mean, some of these CPAs they're charging thousands of dollars for every single return you want to file. So like, if you've got 10 different business returns with 10 different properties, you're spending 20 grand just to do your business returns for each of these properties. So that's the part that's kind of gotten crazy with some of these CPAs out there that are charging crazy amounts of money. Now, if you do it on your own, cool. I don't. I've always had to go through a CPAs that have kind of built things up. But that's the one thing that I've started kind of looking at. And it's like I have a client who runs a great business and they have some great projects that they do, and they do government projects of construction for like government buildings. They haven't done their taxes in a couple of years, and so like they were going to get bids and quotes for I think like 5 years of back taxes that they had to be able to put together and file, and the quotes were coming in, you know double digit thousands of dollars, which you know it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So that's the one thing that comes into play. Because then on the flip side, some people will just have it in their personal name potentially. You can get umbrella insurance and cover yourself, and there's kind of two camps I think on that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing is it's kind of that boogeyman in the room where when you first get started, you hear about all the liability and getting sued, and you kind of worry about your other assets that you may have. And that's kind of where I was. And I think a lot of times though, when you're first starting though, you don't have a lot of assets anyways. So getting caught up in the LLC structure and asset protection is probably more of a headache than anything else. And I think a lot of times that stops people from getting started, or it just delays the process because now, purchasing a rental or getting on the property ladder or becoming a landlord is already challenging itself and a lot of work. And now you're trying to figure out how to set up your LLC, set up your banking, like you're saying, taxes, how you're going to pay yourself. So you're putting more things on your plate, and it just kind of makes things a lot more difficult than it has to be or than it already is.
Totally. And like when I look at kind of the evolution of someone's rental property journey, right? Um, Everyone's going to be different, but most people don't go out and just say, hey, I own a house, right? I live in a house, and then go buy a bunch of rental properties. typically it's like, okay, I buy a house, maybe I'll buy the next one and turn the old one into a rental, and maybe do it again. It's something that I personally did. And so these homes were owned in my personal name. I bought them as primary residences. I put down, 5% down conventional loan, 30-year fixed rates. And so as I kind of evolved, bought the next one, turned the old one to a rental. These loans and properties were in my personal name. I did not put them into an LLC. I just kept them into my personal name. I think that scenario, it happens to a lot of people as you kind of evolve. And I've seen people, okay, you know what, I'm going to go buy a condo or a townhouse and put 20-25% down, buy it as a rental property, and do it in a conventional loan, because it's simpler to do than to go try to get a commercial or private money loan when you're first starting out. And so that first couple, two, three, four, whatever the number is, typically I see it being done in someone's personal name as a conventional loan. And then as things evolve and get more complicated, then you see people getting more into commercial loans or private money loans in an LLC. And one of the things that I say is that once you've got the ball rolling and the ball is rolling downhill, getting a commercial loan can be a lot easier to get done than say a residential conventional loan, because the documentation requirements and how they look at things is going to be a different plane. Commercial loans, it's pretty much three things. It's the property. Does the property make sense? Credit or history, and then do you have the money for down payment and assets? Whereas on the residential side of things, we were going to look at every single thing, all the documentation, tax return, W-2s, base stubs, deposits, blah blah blah. So as you get later along on your journey, getting a commercial loan, which inherently means you're gonna want to have an LLC set up. Um, but then like me personally, I've had properties that have had my personal name for a while that were conventional loans that I bought as a primary residence, and they stayed there, and then the stuff that I bought on my LLC stayed there. So I've kind of have a hybrid ownership system personally.
No, yeah, me too. I totally agree. I mean, I want to also just say this is not legal or tax advice. We're just speaking about our experiences and our opinions on kind of what we've gone through. And, like you're talking about, yeah, like initially, I had properties in my personal name because, it was my primary residence. And that was just kind of how the process went. But then as I started looking down, getting rental properties strictly for um, being a landlord, that's when I started looking down the asset protection or LLC structure. And like I was going back to, kind of that boogeyman in the room, you kind of start worrying about, getting sued and liability that people talk about. So that's where I kind of went down the rabbit hole for, doing setting up an LLC structure. But now that I look back on it, I think I definitely, like you were saying, I would only set up an LLC more for trying to take advantage of the DSCR lending, more asset-based lending. Because for me, having a primary home in Hawaii, my debt to income ratio is already kind of on the high side. So getting DSCR lending is a lot more um, easier for me to access. So that's why I would use an LLC. But then on the flip side of that, also, I kind of got caught up in putting each property into its own LLC. And so now I've just created more work for myself, more renewal fees every year, more bank accounts. And I just made more work, more headaches. So if I was going to do it again, I think I would just have one LLC to take advantage of, getting that DSCR lending.
Do you do your own taxes, or do you have a third
No,
party do
man,
it?
I have an accounting degree, but I do not do my own taxes. But it even
So
but
you have
even
an
just
LLC for every single one.
yes, I do.
How much
Um,
do you pay for each business
I,
return?
I
Do you want to share
no,
that? Do you want to give us a
no,
range?
it's enough, and and then the other thing about it is so after I kind of went down that process, and I'm like, you know what, this is overkill, and I should change things. Of all the places that I invested in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they have a high transfer title fee.
Oh
So
yeah.
just for me to consolidate and take the properties out of the LLC and put it and try to consolidate into one, I'd be paying a lot of fees for that. So, maybe if you're in another market, it wouldn't have been so too bad to consolidate. But for me at this point, it's not worth spending all that money just to take it out of one LLC and put it into another LLC. So those are other things that you learn, and hopefully we can help people realize, those are certain things you might want to look into before you get into a certain market, is what type of maybe transfer title fees they have and whatnot. But there's a lot of things I would do different from the LLC side if I was starting over again.
Okay, so